The date is February 17th, 2022, and these are some strange times indeed, of course, as it has been and as it continues to will be. The Earth is in retrograde, so weirdness and all sorts of strangeness run abound in their supreme power as we travel through this new year on our journey through the cosmos. Right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Every week on this show, we take your calls to hear about the strange and unexplained, be it ghosts, extraterrestrials, cryptids, interdimensional beings. You can't name it. We want to hear about it. We'll be dropping the Zoom link later, but tonight, folks, we're getting a little closer. We're getting a little more, what would you say, sensual? That's right. That's right, terrestrials. It is February 17th. A mere 3 days have gone by since Valentine's Day, the holiday of love. And tonight we're saying, move over, Delilah. Cliff McCallister is in town, and there's a lot of weirdos out there in need of love, in need of advice for all sorts of love and whatever it is they need. So we're going to be opening up the chat. We're going to be opening up the phone line. If you need love advice, if you'd like to send out a dedication, this is your chance. This is your chance right here on the show tonight. So we're going to be doing that. But first, top stories. All right, let's check in our very first top story. We've been following this as it blasts out in the far reaches of space, the far reaches of 1,000,000 miles away from us. That's right, we're talking about the John Waters Space Telescope, and now, would you believe it, we have the very first images from the John Waters Space Telescope have finally come in. Let's take a look. This is the very first one that we have on there. Let's bring it up. There it is, a selfie from space. A shot right here from the John Waters Space Telescope camera, looking right there, what you can see just barely in focus are the individual gold-plated mirrors that will enable us to look farther into space than we ever have before. This massive thing, and here it is, a beautiful selfie from the John Waters Space Telescope. Now, of course, if we flip the switch and take a real look, not just at the mirrors themselves, but into deep space, we've actually got our very first image of the stars coming from the John Waters Space Telescope. Now, I say our very first image of the stars. And you can see a large star, many large stars, but this is in fact all looking at the exact same star. What we are doing right now, what they have to do with the John Waters Space Telescope is collaborate each mirror. It folded up into a little rocket. It made its way up into space, and now it's unfolded. And the mirrors are out, and they're kind of all pointed in slightly different areas. And in order to get the perfect images and an accurate representation of what we are looking for out in space, we need to collaborate these mirrors and bring it all together so it comes into one point of focus. So what we are seeing right now are multiple little images of one star of the same area of space being picked up by different little mirrors. And now, what our good friend Dr. Kevin Hainline is up to is collaborating. I'm not sure if that's the word I want, but it is. We are taking each little mirror, and each little mirror has a little motor behind it, and from 1,000,000 miles away, we are able
configuring.
Thank you, Steven.
It took me a while, but I figured it out.
We were in the right word ballpark, but we didn't quite have the right things. But it's all collaboration. We're collaborating with the stars, and we are configuring our space mirror. So now we've got these incredible motors that we are able to control from 1,000,000 miles away, and we can adjust them so that they move. We can move these mirrors the width of a human hair. That's how intricate we are able to control these things. And billions of dollars went into this telescope. And so right now we are taking each mirror and configuring it so that it points to the right place, and eventually when we know that we're focusing on this one star. This one of the stars in if I remember correctly, in the Big Dipper. And so what we are doing is we are configuring each one, and soon we will have a solid image of this one star, this one area. But we need to get it all pointed in the right direction, and so we're taking each of those mirrors. Can you bring the selfie back up again, Steven?
Yeah, I can. And you know what? I'm realizing as you're saying this that um this is those stars are really really far away.
Yes.
It's not like that's like billions of miles away. That's like one little star, right? You could see the whole thing, but it's like really zoomed in, huh?
Yeah, so right now we're just trying to focus in on this one area, and that way, this is an area where we have good records of what this looks like. We know what it needs to look like in its final form. So we are configuring all of the mirrors. Calibrating. There we go.
That's a good. That's probably better.
Thank you, Lydia. So that one. So as you can see, there are each one of these mirrors. We have to move each one individually to calibrate it and get it all set up so that the stars are in the right space, and then we can look even further in the space, get even better images of what is going on out there. But right now it's just calibration time. We probably will not be able to actually get the full images that we want from space. We won't be seeing those until like June or so, if I remember correctly.
This reminds me of a story.
Okay.
Cliff, can I tell you something real quick?
Yes.
It's kind of a personal outing that I did with some friends of mine. We all went to an escape room, right?
Okay.
And there was towards the end. This got pretty elaborate. This is like rave reviews. This was out in Pigeon Forge. This is a nice escape room. Not everyone makes it out. It's a small percentage. Somehow we made it out.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. We made it out. Oh my gosh, could have been stuck in there forever. But one of my friends got really frustrated at another one of my friends because one of the puzzles was like you found 3 mirrors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one person's supposed to hold a mirror here, another person's supposed to hold a mirror there, and to get this laser light, which was the key to open up one of the final doors, around these walls, right?
Oh, you're pointing
And so,
lasers. Yeah.
boom, my buddy snatches it out of the hands of my other buddy, and he's like, you're not doing it right. And he gets up there, and he's already still angry, and he's like, oh. But the idea of just we were in a room, this little light, it's going 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet or something at its max, and it can't get pointed straight to open the door. And we're talking about multiple mirrors and billions of miles with this telescope. That's wild. That's ridiculous.
It's intricate work, and let me tell you, if you've ever watched a live interview with someone on the International Space Station, which is much, much closer than the John Waters Space Telescope is, the interviewer here on planet Earth will ask a question, and about 30 seconds later, the person on the International Space Station will reply. So you've got a big delay in communication between folks talking to each other in space. And the John Waters Space Telescope is even further out. So a question that I did not get to ask Dr. Hainline, and would be very curious to know, is what is the delay between when we tell the telescope to do something and when it actually does it?
Slightly move said mirror, wait, half a day, and then see if that worked, and then maybe inch it over a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah,
Good question.
I'm very curious. We'll have to follow up. I know he's definitely game to come back on the show in the future, but we won't trouble him to come back just to explain the time length. But I'm sure if we ask, he'll probably give us a good answer, or we can Google it. It might be on Google as well. We'll do some research. We'll figure that out. We'll get that information to you as we are learning more and more about the cosmos thanks to the John Waters Space Telescope. Now let's get that one out of here because we got a new picture coming to us from space. Guess what, folks? You will not to be outdone. As not only have we launched the John Waters Space Telescope, and 2 weeks ago we were treated to an image of a black hole shooting out stars, we've got a brand new image from the Hubble that says, "Don't forget about me, I'm still here taking some pretty cool pics." This is a picture of, this news story was sent to us from a viewer of the show, Katie Radigan. This is an interaction between the NG-169, nice, and the IC-1559 galaxies. What we are witnessing here are two galaxies that within the center of each one, they are revolving around supermassive black holes. And as everything is moving around in space, these two have managed to get close enough to each other that what you can see here is one galaxy lifting up stars and solar systems from one galaxy and then bringing and vice versa. So what we now have is, because of these two, I won't necessarily say combating, they're not at war, they're just neutral galaxies making their way through the stars, and they are trading off solar systems and stars because of each one's individual gravitational pull. So some very exciting stuff there coming out, thanks courtesy of the Hubble telescope. Says, "Don't forget about me, I'm still here. I'm still taking some incredible pictures of space." And now that, of course, we've discovered this with the Hubble, at some point, there's plenty of things, I'm sure, on the list, but at some point, as we get closer, as we get the John Waters put together, we can get a look at this with infrared, and really even get a closer and wilder look at what is occurring here and elsewhere in the deepest regions of space. Heading further out into space, perhaps. Actually, I believe this one is closer. We've got word of an object that was found in the Milky Way galaxy. This is our galaxy. Those galaxies we were looking at before, different galaxies all together. You know, we are privy as being a part of the Milky Way galaxy. These other galaxies are further away in the overall expanse of what we call the universe. Now, what is bigger than the universe, I'm not sure. Perhaps the cosmos, but I just use that as a generic term. An astronomer could correct me on the terminology there, but we won't get into it. This is an object found in the Milky Way. Now, we don't necessarily have an image of this, but it was found due to the radio signals that it has been popping out. It's been sending. This is an object that has been sending out a pulse every 18 minutes and 18 seconds, like clockwork. This was found, discovered by some astronomers, let's say astrophysicist Natasha Hurley-Walker, who has been using a telescope in the Western Australian outback. Now, these, this is a pulse coming out 18 minutes, 18 seconds. This is about 4,000 light years away from us. It is incredibly bright, and it has an extremely strong magnetic field. Now, Hurley-Walker says, if you do the mathematics, you will find that they shouldn't have enough power to produce these kind of radio waves every 20 minutes. This just kind of, whatever it is. She says, it should not be possible. The object may be something that researchers have theorized could exist, but have never seen, which is called an ultra-long period magnetar. It could also be a white dwarf or a remnant of a collapsed star. We're not entirely sure of what it is yet. Hurley-Walker goes on to say, but that's quite unusual as well. We only know of one white dwarf pulsar, and nothing as great as this one. Of course, it could be something we've never heard of. It could be an entirely new type of object. Now, they don't necessarily believe this is extraterrestrials because the frequencies that it is coming on are so broad. Okay, here we go. Bearfum52, who expertly stole an astronomy class, says nothing is bigger than the universe. The universe is everything. So there we go. And there you have it. Now, the question is, this is some deep philosophy. This is some deep space philosophy. Because there's the question of, is space truly infinite, or does the universe end somewhere? Is there a point at which it stops? Or has time been going on at infinite, or did it begin at a certain point? Because it takes time for these stars to reach us. You know, when we say that we'll be using the John Waters Space Telescope to be able to see almost the birth of the cosmos, it's because we can look at stars that are so far away that their light is just reaching us as they are being created. And so finding something so far away, it takes light from the sun. This is a commonly known fact, but it takes light from the sun. And if you didn't know it, don't feel bad. It takes light from the sun 8 minutes to get to us. If the sun were to disappear right now, well, we wouldn't know because it's nighttime. Actually, I suppose in about 8 minutes the moon would go dark. And then it would get very, very cold. But if the sun were to suddenly disappear during the daytime, it would take 8 minutes for us to even realize. So that is going out, that's how we can look so far back. When we say we're looking at stars so far away, people say that we're looking back in time, and that's why. It takes that light so long to get to us. So even when it comes to deep space travel like that, not only do we have to calculate where the stars are coming from, but how long it's going to take them, where we need to go, because of the way things have traveled through the universe. Big stuff, space. Space, perhaps the biggest thing there is. And time, we say, if space is infinite, stars are infinite, and that time is at infinitum, then we would be able to look out at a pitch black night and see a sky full of stars because we would have it all coming in, but from all over the place. Now, clearly there are things that either have not reached us yet, or time began at a certain point. Who knows? It's all infinite one way or another, and the only way to figure it out truly is to become unstuck, but that is a different kind of thing as well. Let's see. Alright, we're talking about the multiverse in the chat. What about the multiverse? Asked Dr. Strange. We'd probably feel like we're falling out of control, except gravity takes time to travel too, I think. Does anyone have a jamb? Did anyone have a jam? I don't know what that means. Steven, you're the one doing the Met Comedy Night chat. Oh.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, I was thinking...
Okay, what are you referring to there?
If the sun disappears, we wouldn't know for 8 minutes, but we might feel like we're falling out of control. But would it take 8 minutes for the gravity of the sun to stop affecting us somehow?
Okay, so this is like real astrophysicist stuff that I vaguely heard about recently, I think, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not an expert on. It's my understanding this is getting into real, like, how the theory of relativity works kind of things, and it's kind of said that light is the fastest thing there is, so we cannot. Nothing travels faster than light itself, which is to say, if the sun were to disappear, we would not necessarily feel like the gravitational or atmospheric effects of that disappearing until the light itself is gone, because the light is the energy from the sun that we get. That's my understanding of how it is, but it's also if the sun were to disappear in the way that some suns tend to, not all suns turn into black holes. Some will just kind of like die, as I understand it. But some will implode and become a black hole. If it becomes a black hole, that's going to be a different situation altogether. I think.
If it's a black hole, Mars isn't going to help us out much.
No, not very much, And honestly, if the problem is that the sun dies, Mars isn't going to help us much anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to figure, if the sun goes, we're gonna have to figure something else out. But we should have a fairly long amount of time before anything happens to the sun.
Sending love to the sun, except for I gotta send it this way.
Sending love to the sun in whatever direction you are, and all of the suns that are the individual stars up in space right now. But of course, we've got a long time before the sun dies, which means we have got a long time to develop the solar punk future that we all deserve to live in. Stars. All right, well, we've got one more top news story, and then after the break, we're gonna come back, and it'll be time to talk love with Cliff McCallister. Move over, Delilah. Cliff is in town. We're gonna be taking your calls. We're going to be taking your questions in the chat to espouse some advice on love Because after all, it is right after Valentine's Day, and there's a lot of us weirdos out there in search, in search of a little love. Or maybe you found it, but you've got some questions. Well, I, Cliff McCallister, Zara the Bizarre, am here to help. But first, let's get into our final news story of the night. This one is coming to us from Singular14.com. Now, this is a news story to them, but this is somebody who has come forward about an event that happened in 2014. Christmas Eve 2014. Oh, wow, this is a magical Christmas story. Maybe we'll bookmark this and read one on every Christmas Eve for Prometheusmas. But here we go. And to say, too, a story from 2014... Like we do on this show, we open the phone lines to hear about the strange and the unexplained. And if you've experienced something at any point in your life and you haven't shared it with us, it doesn't matter how long ago it happened, we want to hear about it. I don't care if it happened in 1996. I don't care if it happened in 1983. I don't care if it happened in 1742. If you were from 1742 and you haven't called into this show, your very existence is an incredible thing. I'll tell you, I witnessed an amazing thing myself, truly unexplained. Just today, I was walking downtown Frederick. I was making my way over to the theater, and out of Maxwell's Eatery, they appeared elderly. They appeared to be an old elderly couple, but their garb, their wardrobe, suggested this was some couple from the Civil War, the Union side, I'll say, an elderly spirit, I believe, in prim, proper Union soldier attire, and his elderly wife in, I wouldn't, not soldier attire, but period appropriate attire, on a Thursday night in downtown Frederick. And it just begs the question, are there spirits of the Civil War just walking around our town as full apparitions? Could be. If you've witnessed such sights, give us a call. Oh no. Do you ever swallow in a weird way? It doesn't go down the wrong throat, but I guess you get like a little air bubble or something in there. Warp speed is faster than the speed of light. This is true, Barefoot52, but warp speed has not been fully developed yet. So as of right now, light is the fastest thing that there is. All right, let's get to this story. These friendly interactions with orbs. This was balls of orange light in North Carolina. Stephen, this is near your neck of the woods, just a little north. All right, this is happening. Let's see if it says near Hickory, North Carolina. This is on Christmas Eve, approximately 8 p.m. A man named Shane Taylor, who is now 42, was driving on Zion Church Road in Hickory, North Carolina, approximately 8 p.m. when an orange ball of light crossed quickly in front of him. Out of the blue, I'm driving down the road and this orange ball of light whizzes across my windshield. Like an inch away, he told investigator Tobias Wayland in an interview. I'm doing 55 miles per hour just zooming down the road and this orange ball of light just whizzes by me. The man pulls his vehicle over into an empty field and exits, only to find roughly a dozen silent, luminescent orbs the size of cantaloupes grouped together floating nearby. Some were floating at eye level, while others were a little higher than that, but they were close enough to where Taylor thought that he could reach out, and he could have almost touched one. He says, I got out of my car and look up, and there's dozens of these orange balls of light. Some of them were like 5 feet away, 10 feet away, but they were all right there just hanging out. Each light would grow brighter or dimmer, seemingly at random, while some hovered and others moved gracefully through the air. It was like you knew they were alive because of the pattern of the lights, similar to a heartbeat. But it wasn't a repetitive thing, Taylor said. Their movements were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Really graceful, like a butterfly. Very smooth. It seemed like they could have gone any speed they wanted. And he said it looked like these orbs had almost almost like the guts inside of a light bulb. It's not light, it was some kind of structure, he explained, or so he thought. But right when I thought that, it dimmed out where I could see the light, where I could see it was light, but there was no substance there. There was no structure. It would totally disappear and come right back. So we've got these orbs the size of cantaloupes floating around gracefully, beautifully on Christmas Eve, no doubt. And all of a sudden when they go dark, there's no structure there. There's nothing. They just disappear and then come back. Stephen, you're from the Carolinas. Have you ever witnessed these magical orbs?
If I did, Cliff, you would have already known about it. I've not.
All right, that's what I like to hear. I like to hear some straightforward reporting from our tech guy.
And you know what? I was just down there, but if I go back again, and I see something, you'll be the first to know.
There are orbs in the Blue Ridge Mountains. You gotta keep your eyes out up there.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Will do.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, the Love Half Hour begins with Cliff McCallister, Czar of the Bizarre. We're gonna be taking your questions and giving you advice for all you weirdos out there on how to find a little love or what to do with the love you already have. And if you want to call in and make a dedication, maybe we'll play a little song for you too. Look out, Delilah. Things are getting strange. So, don't turn to a different Twitch channel. We'll be right back in just a second. Stay strange, terrestrials. Greetings, terrestrials. The date is February 17th, 2022. I don't know if I said the right year at the beginning, but Earth is in retrograde. And these are some strange times indeed tonight. We are taking your calls. We are looking in the chat to take your questions about love. It's February 17th, just 3 days after the day of Valentine's. And we want to help you out. We want to give you a guide to falling in love, to everything you need. Maybe you've already found love, but you just have some questions. Well, we're going to take those questions tonight on the show. Steven, if you put the Zoom link in the chat, if anyone has any questions, or perhaps if they have something they'd like to talk about, tell us about that weird love in your life, and maybe we'll dedicate a song to them. In the meantime, let's pull up the Dictionary of Superstitions. Because while it has been a bit of a bust in the past, with no information for Groundhog's Day, there is a whole section here about love. All right. Countless superstitions, spells, and proverbs cater to the multifarious needs of the lovelorn. The bulk of them are designed either to help identify one true love, whom everyone is presumed to seek, or else to persuade the reluctant partner of another's desirability. Let's get a little ethereal on this one. Oh no. In order to glean information, and perhaps even a vision, of a future partner, various authorities recommend a range of possible courses. These may vary from throwing a peel of an apple over one's shoulder to see what initial may be discerned in the shape it assumes on the floor, to chanting various charms, going to bed and sleeping with certain flowers, pieces of wedding cake, or mirror beneath the pillow. Other procedures will reveal the direction from which the lover will come, even his trade or profession. Here's a question about spiritual love. We'll get back to the things in a moment. Here's a question about spiritual love. An entity I'm dating brought up the possibility that according to many Earth religions, hell could be teeming with Martians. Does life outside Earth need to be saved? Thoughts? Alright, now this gets into a real spiritual conundrum, because it also raises the question of, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this ties in, if the belief is that Martians are in hell simply because they do not believe, then hell is full of many varied and splendid things that just might not be going to the right building. You know, there's a certain amount of, I'll call it spellcraft, to religion itself in some ways. As we learned recently, a pastor, a Catholic priest, has been performing baptisms wrong for the past, 20 years or so. In a place where they mistakenly have said we instead of I. And just that one little word means that the souls that were then baptized were not fully saved. Now that's a sad thought, depending on what you believe. Martians, Venusians, whatever it is, I think if we can believe in a God and we can believe in a heaven and hell, then why can we not believe in life on other planets? I think the two ought to be intertwined, and some folks, like like John Keel and others, propose that creatures such as the Mothmen and the Flatwoods Monsters are in fact ultra-terrestrials, and some would even say that demons and angels may not even be creatures of our own world. But you say you can get that one word wrong, and you're not going to get into heaven either. I would say that the limitations to get into the great beyond are quite too heavy. Too strict in some cases, depending on who you listen to. But if there is truly a benevolent and loving God watching over us all, then I like to think that anybody can get in. All you gotta do is, I don't know, not be a murderer and not be the one thing that's worse than that. But we won't get into that on the show because it's a bummer. So the thing is, I think as long as the Martians are not like genocidal maniacs and are behaving in whatever way, maybe ethically, if they spent their time on the planet Mars helping one another, then I think they're probably in a fine place right now. After all, who's to say what is to come in the next life? But I do believe. But let's also address the question that was directly asked. Does life outside of Earth need to be saved? Well, life outside of life outside of Earth. You know, there are many questions as far as what they believe or what they do, but I think much like we all are present to our own systems of beliefs based on our own upbringings and based on what has been presented to us, what is happening on stars beyond ours are far beyond our grasp. Why, they may have their own set of beliefs, their own set of religions out there, and most likely they do if they have not moved beyond it. And so I think that there's not necessarily another system. You know, I don't think we need to send emissaries to save extraterrestrials. I don't necessarily think that there needs to be an effort, a mission, a missionary to save them. I think what is happening over there is beyond our comprehension as a whole. And so let's cut them all some slack, because their whole existence is something that we have not been able to fathom until this very point. There's no need to save the Martians. There's no need to save the Venusians. Now, we've got some real skepticism in the chat right now. We've got some real skepticism going on. Which then begs the question, why are we fighting about this? Has anyone in this chat been to Mars? Now, what we have found is evidence of water on Mars. We have found evidence of microorganisms on Mars. There might not actively be Martians that we are aware of on this planet. But I think if we can believe in a God, and we can look at the evidence of what is on Mars, or what once was, whether there be riverbeds or lakes that have since dried up or frozen over in some way or another. If we can believe in a God, we can believe that at some point there may have been life on Mars, and at the very least, the microorganisms that exist there meet the proper definition of Martian. We're about belief on this show, folks. So open your brains to the possibilities that there could be life, if not now, at some point in the distant past. You know, our time here on this own planet stretches out so very far, so very long, and there are so many things about our own past as human beings that we do not understand. The amount of time that we have spent on Mars has been so minimal compared to the time that we have spent here, and in fact, one would say we have not spent any time on Mars. We've only sent robots there to kind of poke around and do the work for us. We have not done archaeological digs. We have not looked within the planet. This is a planet that has sandstorms happening all over the place, all over the time. Evidence of ancient civilizations could have been buried hundreds of thousands of years ago, and we have not had any opportunities to find it. All we find left are the evidence of riverbeds and dried up spaces where water once was. So yes, I do think that at some point, if not presently now, there were at another time Martians on Mars, and there could have been Venusians on Venus, Jupiterians on Jupiter. There could be creatures on the moons of Jupiter that are capable of housing water. Jupiter itself a gas giant which emits its own heat, so as it is further away from us than the sun, it is capable of providing atmospheres that could be beneficial on its very moons. So just something to think about. That's a quieter preset for the show on the theremin. But yes, God will worry about the Martians. I'm sure she will welcome them with open arms. For if this is the Christian God we are referring to, though we have not specified which, and of course there are many, depending on the different religions that you listen to, I like to think that she will be understanding. Or she will have sent Martian Jesus to Mars, and will have done the work there, if it is such a necessity. Here we go, but a noted tone from the 1990s says, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, so to our knowledge, heterosexuality outside Earth is going to be tricky and long distance. That's right, we kind of met in the middle. Men and women meeting in the middle here on Earth as two very different species from the stars. Maybe we'll get, maybe we won't, who knows. That could be maybe that'll get incorporated into the Strange Times Indeed book club, looking into men are from Mars, women are from Venus as proper science fiction, or science fact. I have not read the book, so I'm not entirely familiar with everything that it posits about our extraterrestrial origins and what it means, but I do hear that there's a board game devoted to this as well, and maybe that could be a thing. Pansexuals are from Pluto, I hear, but there isn't a book at a secondhand store about it yet. Not yet. But Melodious Snaggle, you know, they say, the book that you seek to find that you cannot, that's your story to write. Pansexuals are from Pluto. Let's learn a bit more about love before the debate about theology in the chat gets too heated. Measures that may be taken in an attempt to win over a particular person by magic vary from the stealing of his hatband and the wearing it as a garter, feeding him or her certain foods or potions noted for their aphrodisiac qualities, and casting a spell over a hair surreptitiously, pronunciation not my friend tonight, surreptitiously taken from the other's head. Samples of blood or nail parings may also be used, see fingernails, to employing the magic of knots and enlisting the help of certain saints or demons. Alternatively, simply reciting the name of the loved one over and over in the form of ancient charms may have... Oh, I picked up the book and I lost my place. Alternatively, simply reciting the name of the loved one over and over in the form of ancient charms may have the desired effect. Dating question: how many alien abductions is considered a red flag in a potential suitor? Alright, well, here we go. I think when it comes to alien abductions, alien abductions occur outside of our reach. It's something that, for the vast majority of us, no matter how much we wish that it may happen, it has not happened yet. Or it may not occur at any point. We cannot control extraterrestrial abduction any more than we can control abduction from strangers out on the street. I do not think that it is necessarily a point that we can hold against those of us in our lives who have experienced it. Certainly not from a dating standpoint, but there are elements of extraterrestrial abduction that you may very well have to contend with in your relationships, in finding love. If they have been abducted many times, you may encounter that there are certain things they are weary of. Why, I was looking for advice right here. Let's look at this, actually. I think this one. This is a book that we picked up in Asheville. Talking to Extraterrestrials, Transforming Our World with the Help of Enlightened Beings. Now, if we turn to the chapter... Where is it? Where is it? You went too far. Love and Sex. In the beginning, the Earth was created... blah blah blah. Here's what it says. This actually, I think, it goes right to your question, Melodious. There are particular challenges associated with paranormal phenomenon and how it impacts and shapes personal relationships, particularly when only one member of the couple is experiencing phenomena. Certainly, having one or both partners suddenly open to otherworldly events and images does not have to cause problems, providing that there is a high degree of motivation to honor each other's highest ideas about such things. An experiencer is able to more clearly receive input from other realms, including one's own higher self. And sometimes that direction conflicts with standards set up in the relationship. Ideally, it would seem most beneficial to be in touch with the soul's desires. However, the challenge occurs when one's own blossoming understanding of self begins to conflict with one's partner's. While it would seem that what is in one's highest good is also another's. We don't always perceive circumstances and events that cause us pain or trouble as being necessarily beneficial. And we don't perceive it as such, that is, until some time has passed. During my first marriage, the extraterrestrials would wait to visit when my husband was away on business trips. When he returned, he could never figure out why I was so bleary-eyed from emotional exhaustion. He didn't understand, even though I tried to tell him that I spent some of my nights in the bedroom closet, terrified for my safety, because of what was coming through the roof to get me. Or so I initially thought. Part of my trauma was that it felt like I needed to hide what was going on with me because I was not strong enough emotionally to withstand my husband's disapproval, or his potential reaction to my claims. Perhaps, to some degree, we are all working on this, forever practicing with getting in touch with what is our truth, and revealing ourselves to the ones we are closest to. Ultimately, loving the self means honoring our own truth, no matter the fallout. My second marriage seemed doomed from the beginning. Looking back, I realized that due to my own fears and shortcomings, I agreed with my fiancé that marriage seemed the only acceptable option. But upon hearing and seeing the images of a message that suggested that our union was best kept to a short period rather than a marriage, otherworldly input began to produce a challenge. Unlike my first marriage, this time I was brutally honest about all that I was seeing, hearing, and experiencing. For this partner invited this degree of honesty. However, he didn't agree with my conclusion. As it turned out, the marriage ended 2 years later. There are particular challenges associated with integrating encounter experiences and related phenomena into everyday life. This, in fact, was the very theme of one of my group meetings back then. However, despite some prickly challenges, I do feel that such phenomenon can enhance love, not cause one's partner to run screaming from the house. But this discussion introduces an idea that speaks to the heart of what becomes a particular challenge for those people who are out in front of the pack with respect to spiritual awareness, metaphysically speaking. When you become a trailblazer, don't look to the pack behind you to give you a context for what is happening. If they could, they'd be the ones in the front, hacking away at the wild trail, blazing a new path. So stop attempting to get support, encouragement, and leadership from those who are behind you and you are following. So here's what I would say is if you are dealing with a partner who has experienced many extraterrestrial encounters, who has experienced multiple abductions, I just would say no necessary amount is a red flag, but come to that with an open mind and an understanding that whatever it is they bring to the table is something that we cannot fully understand or comprehend. And what they are bringing and experiencing as folks who have witnessed extraterrestrial life, who have been in contact with extraterrestrials, no matter the context, that is going to shape them in a certain way and impact their worldview. And if you approach them with kind of the open heart that you might with somebody you love, then be willing to listen to what they say. And perhaps if you find that the extraterrestrials are providing guidance that you might not agree with, fill it out. If it is a red flag, if somebody is saying the extraterrestrials are telling me we shouldn't get married, then red flag or no, depending on where they are as far as how many abductions they've had. If they come to you and they say, oh, the extraterrestrials who I have been in contact with believe that we should keep this a short-term thing. We should not get married. This is what the extraterrestrials are telling me and I agree with them. That's probably a good sign that you should listen to that person and let that be a short-term relationship. You might love them very much, but if the extraterrestrials are telling them that things ought to be short-term and they believe it well enough to relay that information to you and they feel honest enough with you, then maybe it is that this relationship itself is not destined for marriage. This, of course, talking to extraterrestrials from Lizette Larkins, read by Cliff McCallister, Czar of the Bizarre, and then interpreted into advice. How many marriages have aliens broken up for this poor woman? I'm guessing 4. Let me see if she says any more on there. Let's see if it's in her author bio. I don't think there is one. Dun, dun, dun. Let's take one more quick look, see if she says. We know that there have been at least 2 at this point. All right. She does not mention any more, but here's some closing advice. In the meantime, do the best you can within the context of romantic relationships. As you navigate the crazy new world of extraterrestrial contact experiences, indulge your partner's responses of a blank stare and a "huh?" to your reports. Love has its challenges, but throwing aliens into the mix can send a relationship right over the top. I can send it over the top in a good way or a bad way, Lizette Larkins informs us. Alright, let's see what else we got. An alien Nookie is rough on the marriage, yes. And I think a little troubling that these extraterrestrials, they visited her the first time while her husband is away on a business trip. That does not sound like they're acting in good faith. What is most important in a situation like this is communication. And clearly, keep an open line of communication with the extraterrestrials in your life and the lovers in your life, no matter how many there may be. Cliff, do you know what love is? Is it energy or an abstract force or what? Well, there you go, okay. I think this is one we can do our best to answer, but probably a good closing question considering that it's 9:56. So let's see where it takes us. Love. Do you know what love is? Oh, I cannot put my knee under there. We'll lose the sound. An instrument that you cannot touch will at times be finicky due to the energies that flow through the cosmos. Do I know what love is? Well, Is it an energy, an abstract force, or what? I think I need to get a little height on here. Oh my goodness. Alright, sorry about that, folks. But it's always an adventure to do the theremin live. Love. It's a thing that travels you through the stars. It lifts you up like a little spaceship. And it takes you to the moon and to Venus and Mars and back. If you're a man, you might come from Mars. If you're a pansexual, you may come from Pluto. But we all experience love in our very strange way. It's a feeling unlike any other on this planet. A feeling, oh my goodness, an energy that when you feel it, you know it. It subsumes you. It infects you. It's a feeling that does not go away very easily. Love is a feeling that you feel in which your very own cosmic energy becomes so entwined with another person's, hopefully, if it's let's say this, let's put a little definition on this for the sake of clarity. If love is an energy that ties in with other folks, and for love to happen, it is a chemical reaction that happens between your two cosmic energies. If it's a one-way street, it is infatuation. It is something that feels like love, but is more close to obsession in a way. For love to fully exist, then the two cosmic energies need to combine. And they combine in ways that are unfathomable to robots, I suppose, and very hard for human beings to explain. Scientists spend time trying to figure out what is love. Is it an actual thing? I think when you get into the metaphysical of it all, and you look at your own cosmic energies, you'll swirl and dance with other folks. Well, you may not be dancing physically, but it's all there. It's all there around you, and it's swirling around you. It's swirling around you, and that love is bringing things together. And sometimes you might just feel like there's nothing. But then you look up, and there's that other being, that other creature. And they're shining, they're shimmering, they're glowing like the sun. But that's the combination of your two energies. That's you two feeding off of each other. And in that glow, that warmth of the other person, there's peace. There's calm. And when you find that calm with another person, that's where you found it. A little bit of love. So there you have it. Melodius believes that love is the byproduct of a word I cannot pronounce. Phlogiston, perhaps. And we all, you know. Oh, but, well, why thank you. Like I said, pardon me, everyone experiences love differently. As we are our own cosmic beings with our own little lovey bits that interact with other people's lovey bits, their other energies, in an individual and magical way that is different for every other person who has felt love. So while love may be an energy, it may be a phlogiston, I can only answer as to what love is for me. Cliff McCallister is of the bizarre. But I hope that when you look into yourself, you do some self-reflection. Perhaps you do a little meditation. What brings you that love? What brings you that peace? What brings you that calm? If you found that person, well, tell them that you love them. And with any luck, they'll love you back. That's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for sitting down and talking love with me. This has been Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We'll be back next Thursday, right here, 9 o'clock, on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Wow, I don't know what is wrong with my lips tonight. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Steven for running the chat, and everyone who wrote in the comments tonight. I love you. Stay strange, terrestrials.